writing more curriculum to make sure that as we're performing these modalities, whether we're estheticians or massage therapists or whatever it is we're doing, that we're all doing it with the same standards. And so I feel like for me personally and for kind of the future of CBD, the continuing of creation of curriculum that will be like a standard so that everyone can be on the same page.
Lynn, how about you?
So I obviously coming at it from a different perspective, in so much as we are putting product into the marketplace for you. So we've always come at it from education as well. We started the company from an education platform, and it's partnering with you and letting you know that while it's super exciting to be in this industry with a plethora of CBD out there, not all CBD is created equal. And we're here to partner with you in helping you understand the nuances, the differences, and then how to turn around and take that to your client so they're getting the best possible treatment or the best possible experience with using CBD. We do a lot of in-house writing of protocols for you so you can take and turn around and use on your clients and your patients, and just fostering that relationship that we can be your trusted source and the source of truth for you.
Michele, how about you?
For me, I think holding the CBD industry right now, since it is fairly unregulated in this moment, creating our self-regulating. I come from a very strong skincare background where I developed education and training departments for different skincare brands. So why aren't we doing that in this industry, which a lot of the best brands are doing that, which is fantastic, and creating that standard across the board. So when you as a salon owner or you as a therapist want to work with a vendor, knowing that they have a strong customer service department, knowing that they have quality products with quality ingredients, that they have a strong education and training team, that somebody's going to come in and train your team on their product line and know how to use it. Just as you would in your spa, you would expect that when you have a skincare line coming in. So kind of creating the same standards as the cosmetic industry has.
Gaye, how about you?
Well, we tried to learn what we could, but we got into CBD a couple of years ago, and being here, we learned what we didn't know. Like, for example, most of the partners that we work with put their COAs online, and we think it might be a good idea to actually go read them and learn how to understand them. So that's two things. Just like we write a marketing plan and a business plan every year, I think what we're going to do at our company is write an education plan, especially related to CBD, because there's just so much more to know and so much more happening every single day. And we need to give information to our team and also receive information from our team, because they hear so much anecdotal evidence in the field, and they are a great source of information for us as well. And we may go to some CBD farms that we partner with and to see the process of being distilling.
We know it.
Thank you. But so many opportunities for us to learn more. So yeah, we're going to write an education plan.
Okay. William, how about you?
Yeah, I echo the sentiments of everyone. There's so much, many people entering the space and a lot of misinformation out there. And I think it's important for the companies who are setting the gold standard to work together so that we're actually sharing data and coming together with a non-confusing messaging when it comes to safety and QC and really diving in. I think people are getting educated on CMAs, but taking it a step further and looking at if there's other technologies being utilized, safety of that, and understanding of I think people are hungry for the deeper levels of science.
Yeah, and I can say for American Spa, we'll continue. I mean, we're going to take what we learned here, and we will definitely be covering it, expanding on it. And for all of you here, we're going to check with all of our speakers, and whoever agrees to share their PowerPoints, we will share them with all of you, because it really is important to get this education out there and continue it. So we'll continue as well and make sure that we're reaching our audience and spreading this message as well, because I think that's what I've learned here is a lot of what others is I've learned there's so much more I don't know. So we want to keep sharing that message and getting us all on the same page. So, you know, we all touched on education here. And so let's delve a little bit more in, you know, how can we continue to promote CBD education and ensure the industry is spreading accurate information? Because I think we all have had our eyes open a little bit about about what's accurate, what's not. So what can we be doing here to ensure that we're spreading accurate information? And we'll just go the other way, this way. Let's start with you, Helene.
Right. Science, I think, is really important of cross-checking claims. If you hear contradictory information, ask them about it, some sources. And then, as stated, I'd like to see a collaborative effort in the industry of companies that are doing the right thing via QC and science to work together on a collaborative message so we can deal with the misinformation.
Okay.
And I would say the spas, just more continuing education. We may have a vendor come and roll out our new CBD program, and everybody absorbs about 80% of, no, 20% of what they've learned. It's probably more realistic. And they hold on to what they know, but then they are not progressing, and they may be source of misinformation because they might have some information from 2 years ago. So it goes back to staying on regular communication all year round and every year.
Michele, how about you?
Again, science, I agree with that. In order to build an educational component, everything needs to be rooted in the science of it. So for me, when I create an education department, I need to understand the science at the foundation. Right now, the science is preclinical, and the clinical trials are coming and they're starting, but as we learned in this wonderful summit, that's going to take years to come out. So part of what we can do right now, while we're waiting for those clinicals to come out, and always keeping abreast. This industry, I call it Mr. Toad's Wild Ride on Tilt-A-Whirl. So it's like, you have to be, if you want to be in this industry, you have to be committed to staying current with the education, with the studies that are coming out. So that's really essential. But when things are a little in flux and we're learning and growing, what can we control? So what we can control is when you work with a vendor or a reputable brand, understanding where their farms are, everything you've heard so many times today, COAs, the extraction process, what is truly in their ingredient deck, doing your own tests on them, having that education and training from them. The company that you work with should have answers to your questions, and you should get them in a reasonable time frame.
Lynn, how about you?
I think science, obviously, so I won't touch on that anymore. But I think there's a lot of consumer confusion right now, and it's an exciting time to be where we are in the CBD world, but it's also very daunting, and the onus lies on us as producers of product to help you understand the difference in CBD. You can find it from everywhere from Walgreens to Neiman Marcus. And what are the benefits? What are they? There's isolate, there's full spectrum, there's broad spectrum. There's no governing body that says broad spectrum should be labeled this because of this, or full spectrum should be labeled this because of this. So you'll see a lot of confusion in different brands that are out there saying, well, we're broad spectrum, but we have no THC, or we're full spectrum, but we have no terpenes, or we're isolate, but we incorporate the entire plant. And I'm not saying one's better than the other. I'm just saying understand what you're taking and what you're passing along to your client, because they're not all created equal, and they are different, and they have different purposes. Some, in our opinion, from our science and our research team, fully believes that when you're looking at a topical application and you're looking at the ECS, your endocannabinoid system on your skin, that a full spectrum CBD product is far superior than an isolate because of the different ways terpenes and flavonoids play into the mixture of CBD with other cannabinoid offerings. So understanding it, I know that was a lot. You're all like, right? Dazed over a little bit. But again, it's just going and really understanding the research that's out there and relying on people like ourselves or any other brand that you partner with to be that source of truth for you.
Jordan, how about you?
I definitely agree with everything my colleagues have said. And I think because everyone is still so confused on full spectrum and broad spectrum and whole plant and full plant and what terpenes are. I only heard 2 people at this whole conference mention terpenes, so I'm going to write a whole class on terpenes for you guys. Because there's so many things that we haven't even covered yet, we haven't even touched on the surface of. And so this morning I made a suggestion to American Spa that they create a board of education, that a board of directors is formed by medical professionals, industry professionals, and that we are able to then make sure that all the information you receive at these conferences is again, everybody on the same page. Because I've heard different speakers say different things to you guys all weekend long. And I know you have to be overwhelmed, and I'm sorry. I'm sorry for that. There's been many times where I wanted to stand up and be like, wait, no. But that's why I'm suggesting this Board of Education. A board of directors specifically focused on education, and perhaps American Spa merging with the Spa Association so that there's spa-specific standards, spa-specific education, that you will all learn the same thing. That's how we're going to progress this industry. If we all have something different and we're all going home right now not knowing what terpenes are and not knowing the difference between whole plant and full plant, you're just going to be just as frustrated. And then your own personal research begins and you're going to find contradictory information on the web as well. So science is our answer, as all of my colleagues said, but also the coming together of minds like ours to be able to create those programs for you.
I realize there's no perfect world right now in CBD because it's wild, but in a perfect world, what sort of research would be conducted for us to make real strides in the CBD industry so that this has some legitimacy that sticks and is with us? So, Lynn, can you share a little bit on what you would like to see research-wise that you think would really, solidify CBD as a solid?
It's already out there, and you just have to find it. And I think that's a misnomer that everybody's like, well, I don't see it. Well, you don't see it because, sure, Harvard hasn't done their study, and it's not, sealed, stamped with a clinical trial approval by Harvard Medicine. But you see it out there in places out of Israel, for example. Dr. Meshulam and the research that he's done there. I'm going to plug a 501c3. It's called the Realm of Caring. You can go onto their website and look at a plethora of studies that have been done all around the world in the benefits of cannabis, but CBD in particular as well, for all sorts of different indications. I do think that more IRB studies are necessary. We've done a few on our own. Obviously, clinical trials is the gold standard, but clinical trials take 7 to 10 years. So what can we do in the interim to get people behind in the benefits of CBD in a shorter term? I also think it's the audience. When you look at CBD as a whole, there are so many different silos of business channels that CBD fall into. There is a health and wellness. There is a beauty and wellness. There is a nutraceutical, pure nutraceutical, where it's consumables. And believe it or not, there's actually a recreational market for CBD as well. So when you start looking at how do you pinpoint where your market share is of CBD, that's the study that you want to go look for. So my suggestion to you is if you're playing in topicals and you're playing in skin and you're playing in beauty and health and wellness, okay, well, tailor your focus and your search for that. And when we put out topicals, that's where our focus is, on putting out products that have a 1 + 1 = 3 effect, and then getting IRB studies behind it to back the efficacy of what we're putting out. But that's what I would suggest that you look for when you're looking at a brand to bring in, and I turn to my colleagues that make brands and challenge them and invite them to do the same thing.
Michele, how about you?
I'm going to piggyback on what Lynn said. She pretty much wrapped it all because it's true. The gold standard is, of course, the clinical trials, but we're years away from getting the results from that. But there is research. When Bloom Farms hired me on to start developing out their education and training department, prior to that, they needed me to do in-depth research. And it's out there. It wasn't easy. I was doing this 2 years ago. 2 years ago, I was at the New York City Public Library digging into things and having to pay and just to get these, but they are out there and they, you can read them. Of course, all of them end with, right now, this is still, yeah, we still have to do, this is anecdotal, and more research and investigation is required for this. But there is a good amount of studies out of Israel specifically that you can get, and I agree with Realm of Caring. That is a great resource where you can go, and it's by ailment, pretty much.
By indication.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
It's really good, and there's a few others that are out there. But there are some, some stuff, and doctors in the profession, experienced doctors in the profession that have been working with cannabis for years and years and years at this point have some anecdotal information. But again, it is all anecdotal.
Jordan, how about you?
I use PubMed, P-U-B-M-E-D. If you go onto PubMed and you type in your search bar at the top, cannabinoid Or I always use this as an example when I teach. If you type in the word acetaminophen, everyone knows what acetaminophen is, it's Tylenol. It's the most commonly prescribed over-the-counter drug in the United States. There are roughly 22,000 studies that have been done on the word acetaminophen. If you type in the word cannabinoid, there's over 25,000. So already scientifically, we have more research documented on cannabinoids than we do Tylenol. So it's there, ladies and gentlemen. And like my colleague said, you just have to keep looking. And you can try all different combinations of words. When I first started doing cannabis massage 5.5 years ago, I typed in topical cannabis. There were 12 studies. There's now 50. So in 5 years, they've only done like 30 or 40. But the cannabinoid number just keeps going up. But you can type in any combination, like you can say topical cannabis, you can say MS and cannabis, you can say psoriasis and cannabis, or psoriasis and topical cannabis. Just keep using different combinations and read, because the science is what you're looking for. Google Scholar also is another one. Just type in Google Scholar and it will open automatically. Type in whatever you're looking for and it will send you to worldwide databases of all the research you could possibly want.
And a good amount, just sorry to jump in, a good amount of information, research that I found personally on skin-specific interactions, so with the cutaneous ACS, a lot of it was done on animals. So you also, when you read these things, you have to understand there is a difference, which you guys have heard throughout this panel, all the panel discussions, that there's a difference between, you know, the animal body and our body and how we receive the cannabinoids. But there is information out there on skin-specific uses of cannabinoids.
Gaye, how about you? What sort of research?
Well, from someone outside,
I
they're all
was gonna say,
inside.
on the outside, I bet you, because you're kind of a different, you have a different take on that, so.
I'm just excited to see what other kind of cannabinoids they're going to come out with for us to be able to use. We've heard mentions of CBN helping with sleep, and yesterday the doctor was talking about THCV and applications for weight loss. So I'm excited to see where that research will go and how that can help our clients. And also more knowledge of the endocannabinoid system and how, because that's still relatively new in science, and how that can help calm the central nervous system and make us all calm and well and better. And I found this one quote, it's so spa-like, from the New York Times Magazine, that I just have to share it, talking about CBD, saying that with 75 cellular targets, CBD may provide a full body massage at the molecular level.
That's right.
Homeostasis.
I was just going to say
Balance.
balance. Yeah.
William, how about you? Do you have anything to add?
Yeah, so there's a, kind of, I call it a myth that CBD hasn't been studied fully. It definitely not fully, nowhere near, but it is one of the most studied compounds on the planet. And as was mentioned, Israel pioneered it. They didn't have the prohibition. The U.S. had, Spain's done a lot of research as well. And the endocannabinoid system is fairly well understood at this point of modulating homeostatic balance, right? Which just means it's like the conductor of the body's symphony. And so when you nourish the endocannabinoid system with a full spectrum of cannabinoids, you get every other system beginning to optimize and work better. It's like a full body massage at a molecular level. I'd like to see more. We're barely scratching the surface of our understanding. As much as we know, we still know nothing. We've got CB3 as a new receptor in the endocannabinoid system. There's likely more. Our internal cannabinoids, like in the Hunmite or 2AG, there's probably more that we produce.
We have an endocannabinoid too. The
Yep.
endocannabinoid system within the endocannabinoid system.
Right, and it's constantly unfolding. New discoveries constantly, right? In regards to dermal applications, fat-soluble cannabinoid complexes work very well with dermal application. Internal ingestion, the bioavailability is incredibly poor. The strong data indicates you need about 500 milligrams of the full-spectrum CBD daily at minimum to engage the endocannabinoid system, which means majority of people are not taking anywhere near enough to properly engage the endocannabinoid system, and it's likely a placebo response, which is great when it works, but properly engaging the system is a totally different experience. But dermally, it's incredibly effective without any enhancement techniques. I'd like to see more research, and we're leading research in IRB on epigenetics and shifting of the epigenetics with herbal application, as well as different delivery systems that we pioneered for safe transdermal delivery without any synthetics. And I think that field is going to really light things up in terms of what we can do and really create a unique experience for the end users from a health as well as from a mood experience.
And I know we've talked so much about CAs, but what else can we do in the future about ensuring the quality in our plants and in our products? I know we've hit that one a lot on this in this summit, which I think points out the importance of it. But what else can we do about ensuring quality? So let's start here and go down the line.
Yeah, like as was mentioned, people can say it's full spectrum, and it's isolate with terpenes added, which is not full spectrum. And the FTC will be starting to kind of step up to the plate and start navigating these terms and getting, but it really is on us to come together as companies who are leading the way with ethics and safety and efficaciousness to collaborate together of education we've talked about. But the consumer, particularly if you're bringing a product line in, don't just rely on what they're saying. If you look at their C of A, and they call it a full spectrum, but there's only one peak of a cannabinoid and there's no terpenes, that's not a full spectrum. And so you want to see multiple bars. In most C of As, they'll have bars showing the different cannabinoids that are present as well as terpenes. And then also be looking for a lot of companies that when they're providing the C of As, they're not doing VOC testing, which is volatile organic chemicals. So a lot of these broad spectrum distillates are using pentane and other pretty harmful solvents if not done properly. If it's done properly, you clean it, and that's what the C of A will show. There's no VOC residuals, and it's done right. If it's not done right, we call them bathtub processors. And they're people like making extracts in their kitchen. Then you really need to be looking beyond just the cannabinoids and terpene contents, but also the VOCs and heavy metals, microbials, pesticides, and herbicides, and really ask and demand that. If you set that standard, that's going to create the bar being higher, and you're knowing that you're getting a safer product for your clientele.
And third party on that as well.
Always, yeah.
It's one thing for.
And not just their
Right.
ISO.
Yeah, it's third party testing, not just your own internal testing.
Yeah, for sure.
How about you, Gaye?
Well, we just can't be complacent. We have to partner with our suppliers, but we have to hold them accountable, and we have to understand what it is that they're doing, so we can provide the safest and the quality product that our customers are expecting of a high-quality spa.
Michele?
Transparency from soil to oil.
Yeah.
So knowing from start to finish, where has this CBD oil, this tincture, or topical preparation come from? So where was it farmed? Was it organically farmed? Understanding that. Having testing throughout each step of the process. Not just, the sample batch that a manufacturer gives to you. You need to test it in multiple stages, including final form and third-party testing, of course. And what else? I think that's one of the most,
Know your farmers.
And know your farmers.
Know your farmers.
Know your farmers. Know where your hemp is coming from, because it's a bioaccumulator. It's going to suck up and absorb everything out of that soil. So it's so important. And also just transparency in the ingredient decks, that if there are solvents or if there are residuals within that extract or within the oils, that should be on the ingredient deck. In the skincare industry, we expect that, right? That's mandated, that the ingredients are listed in concentration from highest concentrated to least concentrated. And you know what you're getting in your product. So that should be a standard within this industry as well.
Lynn, how about you?
Testing, know your soil. We control our grow as well. So we're from seed to finish good, and we test every step of the way, which was really something that was near and dear to our heart from the beginning of Mary's. And then GMP practices, good manufacturing practices, is a must. Make sure you're following those protocols and having your organization get certified with the GMP stamp of approval. It does everything. It takes away then all of the nuance of making sure you are being tested and you are getting rid of your part, you're falling under your parts per million on ingredients, and you're making sure there's no residual solvents or pesticides or anything else in those, making sure that your THC that is extremely important. And it also allows for that product to go farther into the marketplace, whether that's internationally or, in big box retailers as well.
Jordan?
I won't repeat all my colleagues because I totally agree with everything that they just said. I will just say more specific testing. For example, in Nevada, they test for the top 7 terpenes of their cannabis. But here in Colorado, we've been the pioneers and we don't test for terpenes. And so I'm speaking about the cannabis industry, not the spa industry, but either way, again, just going back to self-regulating, being able to create standards so that we're all doing the same thing.
And I think that's confusing too, and I'll digress to the cannabis side of the business from the CBD hemp-derived side for a moment. Every state regulates it differently. So, the levels of alcohol that's allowed in California are far more rigorous than the levels of alcohol allowed in Vermont. And so it doesn't quite play into what we're talking about here, but what is important for this CBD and, hemp-derived CBD is making sure that we're following the most stringent standards that all of our companies have come out of. So Mary's Nutritionals came out of Mary's Medicinals, which is a THC-based, cannabis-based company, and we follow the utmost adherence of stringent standards.
I also think one other thing I would like to add, just simplicity of the labeling as well. So the consumer truly understands what they're getting. So not just, okay, here's a CBD tincture and it has, 1,000 milligrams of CBD in it. Okay, great. So you have 1,000 milligrams of CBD suspended in that MCT oil, whatever oil is in there. But how much per serving? And what's the serving size? Or if it's in a topical, understanding per pump, what's the serving size of CBD? So the consumer or the practitioner can truly understand what they're ingesting or what they're applying.
And it, all the laws apply, right?
Right,
If you're not seeing something that meets back to what you're used to with anything else, and that's a good indication that they're not doing it properly.
Right.
Because anyone who's actually operating in integrity, they're going to be following, whether it's nutraceutical standard CGMP to any standard of the industry that they're working in. And so that's a
Cosmetic
big red
standards,
flag. If
anything
you're not
like
seeing
that.
serving size or any of that, that's a big warning sign.
Right. And responsibly using language,
Yep.
in their marketing. So we don't want to give CBD a bad name. I would assume that we're all big believers in CBD and cannabinoids, and we don't want to put expectations out there for consumers to believe, oh, it's going to cure, it's going to do this or going to do that, when, the research is preclinical right now. So we need to also be, as companies, and what we're saying to our, in the spas, what we're saying to our clients, we need to be responsible with that as well. So proper marketing, proper education.
And that's that's highly regulated too, and the last thing you want to do is put a product in the marketplace that says this will cure your cancer. And then you have somebody knocking on your door asking why you're selling this. So
I want to add dosing. That's been touched on a little bit. There are no standard doses yet. So just realize that right now.
And
Everybody's got a different theory because everybody's been doing it we've been doing it for over 5 years. We know what we've been using and we know how effective it is. So does that mean that we've now created that standard? No, because that just means I've been touching thousands of human bodies in the last 5 years and I can tell you what's been effective for our group of people. But because topicals haven't been studied on human bodies other than 6 studies, we don't have any business telling our patients or telling each other how many milligrams we should be using at a time.
And for
Go
internal
low,
use,
low.
even internal, there's no set dosage. And
Everybody's ECS is different.
different.
Everybody's going to respond.
and
And
it's
a terpene
modulating on the
profile,
axis.
a cannabinoid profile.
And every day it's actually modulating depending on the
Exactly.
oxidative stress. So you can't standardize
It
it.
changes everything
and
every
the
day.
shelf life
But
of
you
it
do
all.
need to start somewhere.
We do,
Like, if we are a
absolutely.
spa and we're trying to tell our
Right.
customers what to do, we need a baseline.
No,
Yeah.
right, and
Suggestions.
100%, and we do.
Absolutely.
So,
That's why I'm saying we need more research
Yeah.
towards dosing.
but
Well-
we do have, the onus lies on us as providers of CBD to set some sort of standard function. So I'll give an example. Our transdermal patch, 10 milligrams transdermally is the equivalent to an 80 to 100 milligram edible. How it affects you is going to be vastly different. So we always give the
the recommendation go low and go slow. How you respond to Tylenol is different than the person who's sitting next to you and how they respond. That's why there's 15 different types of, painkillers. Everybody responds differently. Unfortunately, we're sitting at the very beginnings of the research in CBD where we can actually give clinical recommendations on what to take. And so, since there are very few to none contraindications on the use of CBD, we can go out and say go low, go slow. We can say, small dosing, microdosing, and then build up your tolerance to it. Your body also has a half shelf life in CBD in your body is a half shelf life. It doesn't stick like other compounds do. It doesn't convert like carbohydrates do to sugars in your body. It's very different. It passes through. So all of this different research is out there, but as we can't just say here's 1,000 milligrams, have fun. So we have to start somewhere. And while I'd love it if somebody gave me a roadmap to tell you exactly what to try, we don't. So we take the information that we have and we guide you. And that's the best that we could do, knowing that we're trying to be your best partner and guiding you in the right direction.
And there's a level of trust here that is unlike, some of the other things that have come up in spa because this is so new. So there is a level of trust between the spa practitioners and the product companies that needs to, be addressed.
Absolutely.
So we're going to finish with one question because we want to end on a super positive and fun and exciting note. So let's go down the line. What are some of new and exciting products that might be in store for the future of CBD and spa?
Awesome. So one thing that's unique with our technology that we've developed, and my company that I founded, it's the parent co is an IP holding co. We've been developing technologies from 2014. And then we have our consumer packaged good lines and other divisions for industrial applications like supercapacitor batteries. But one of the cool things we've discovered is we've figured out how to encapsulate cannabinoids in water without any synthetic ingredients, which is really like when you go to a solubilization, the second that you go to nanoscale, the body uses nanoscale every day. When you eat a fat-based anything, it's going to nano-encapsulate it in the gut. But what it's going to be doing in that period is filtering out anything that it doesn't identify as compatible. And so normally it would filter these things out, but when you go and you solubilize, it's actually going to sneak it right past the filtration system. So anytime, even a synthetically modified compound, so you can have it be like a lecithin, you can't use a certified organic lecithin for cannabinoids. It just doesn't hold stable. It would be a liposomal encapsulation, which has uses, but what we figured out is how to do it with only certified organic plants. And what's cool with that is that terpenes, they're actually less bioavailable than cannabinoids. And so when you eat a terpene, you're getting nothing. The bioactive pathway for terpenes is via inhalation, and it goes through olfactory, crosses blood-brain into the hypothalamus, and then deploys. Now, the reason that you can have, when people experience different strains of typically in the cannabis realm, of an indica tends to be more sedative for most people, and a sativa, there's boxes that don't really hold true, but they do on average. Sativa tends to be more cerebral. The reason that works is via inhalation. So when people inhaling it like vaporization or smoking, then they notice a visceral difference. But if you eat an edible, it's an edible. With our technology, it gets in immediately, and you can actually utilize terpenes via inhalation, so you can have a diffuser. And we've set up these mood lounges with, we were at the Silicon Valley AI conference, and we had terpene-infused mood lounges, and you can viscerally change how the cannabinoids go in the body. So they're actually, terpenes are like bio-rudders. They're like little tugboats to the cannabinoids, and they'll deploy them to particular receptor sites that they go to. And so you can, one of the things we'll be rolling out for spas is you can have a user functional mood with a beverage, and they come in and have different terpenes and have a viscerally different mood. You can set up a different mood, room, and really start to get functional mood curation, which I think is the future, one of the future pieces of user experience.
Gaye, how about you?
That was a lot of science.
I know.
CBD has really been a game changer in the spas, and it has breathed a new life, and I think any of you out there in the spas can probably agree with that. Really exciting. Something interesting has happened, and we've only been in it 2 years. Our services are increasing, and I'm going to use the Westin in the Del Valley as an example. It's a 14-room treatment room spa, and we'll do about $100,000 worth of services in a year. CBD massage, and then we'll do another 60,000 in enhancements, and that's increasing all the time, which is really exciting and great. But the retail story is quite interesting. So we're down to, so it's $160,000 in service sales. We're going to do $15,000 in retail this year, much less than we did last year, and I think has to do with the competitive landscape. Used to be people would come to Colorado, they couldn't get these products in Michigan, New York, wherever they came from, they would take them home. And in our little town, we have 3 CBD standalone stores, and you can get it online. So that marketplace is going to be changing a lot, and we're going to have to be creative and think of new ways that we can continue the experience for our guests with a really good quality product, rather than what they perhaps could get from Walgreens. So other things we're excited about as companies extract and create terpene profiles, that we can create targeted treatments for them for sleep, for anxiety, for energy building. So we're excited about that whole direction. I think that we will be venturing into aesthetics a lot stronger. We're not there yet, and there's more products coming on the market, and we're excited about that. As well as applications in the salon, maybe for hair growth and for wellness with our manicures and pedicures. I mean, truly the sky's the limit, and we're just thrilled with the industry.
Michele, what about you?
Like we were talking about with the research, there is a broad base of research out there, but like we mentioned, we've only scratched the surface. I think what's on the horizon will be synergistic blends, specific ratios of cannabinoids and terpenes to reach desired effects. Also, I believe that there's going to be a broader standardization, like Jordan had mentioned, possibly doing a board of directors to create a standard within the industry. So practitioners, I applaud you all for coming here today and taking time out of your busy schedules and traveling from different states or wherever you're coming from to be in these rooms and hear this and learn about it. Because it's through you guys that you will take that as a megaphone and give to your clients, and then they can talk about it with their clients. So I thank American Spa Summit for having this, and I hope to see more of it with the standardization. So kudos to you guys for coming. And American Spa.
Lynn, how about you?
What's fascinating for me and being in this industry for the last 6 years is that CBD and THC is the only thing that's being talked about. There's over 100 other cannabinoids out there that do some really amazing things with the human body. We've launched CBN products, we've launched CBC products, CBG. So for us, it's looking at how we can regulate some isolation of that cannabinoid, making sure it still adheres to our full spectrum attributes, and putting it into the marketplace, growing under the underneath the hemp bill, because that's how we have to grow it, and putting out products like CBN in the nutritional side of the house, and products like CBC and CBG, like what we do on our medicinal side of the house. So that's really exciting for us, and we're looking at different ways to be able to capitalize on that, because there's property. CBN, for example, is an amazing sleep aid. It's a great muscle relaxer. It's a great anxiety reducer. Studies have shown. Studies have shown. So that is really exciting. We're at the intersection of innovation and horticulture, and that's what we do. We're looking at other applications of CBD in particular, whether it's microneedling and CBD aesthetics that are coming out, especially for the spa realm, potential IV application, more in the medical realm. And then skincare too. We've launched a skincare line, which is really exciting. And I think one thing that's hard when we look at all of the different opportunities that's out there, and one thing that resonates really carefully with me and products that we put out into the marketplace, is there has to be an added benefit. And there's no benefit in the CBD mascara. And if there is, somebody show it to me, because there's not, I promise you.
You do have cannabinoid receptors in the follicles.
Right. And so let's be responsible about products that we put out there, because the last thing you want to do as an extension of education to your client is say, gosh, this is really going to make all the difference in the world, and your eyelashes are going to grow, and they're not. And that's just unfortunate for the industry as a whole. I mean, the other is, sugar. CBD is an amazing anti-inflammatory. So what are you going to do? Put it in a bottle of, fructose and call it call it great, you're completely counteracting the ability of what the CBD is supposed to do to you. So look at the products that are going out there, make sure there's an added benefit. We look at
And a functional dose, right?
at a functional dose, absolutely at a functional dose. You know, there's a benefit of CBD and mud from the Dead Sea. You have magnesium, and you have all of these other benefits that help create a 1 + 1 = 3 effect. And so that's what you'll find from us as we continue to charge forth in this wacky world.
Jordan, how about you?
I'm looking forward to kind of what both of them said. I think that the more we study the aesthetic properties of terpenes and cannabinoids and their various combinations, we're going to find that one of those combinations perhaps fills fine lines, or that one of them reduces aging more than another. And so tighter, brighter, and age-defying, right? Those are like the 3 things everyone in this room or their clients are looking for. And so I am intrigued to know what the future is of specific to aesthetics and skincare, because I think we're going to find some really amazing, amazing results.
Well, I want to thank you all so much, and I'm going to let you stay up here because I'm going to thank all of you so much for being part of this wonderful American Spa CBD